Hey traders, John Howell here. So in today's video, by the way, isn't that gorgeous? Isn't that just gorgeous? Overcast day today, but still a nice, good, gorgeous view of where I live here. I want to talk to you about this year's been been a challenging year. You know what I mean? Now, not in a challenging year as in like I've lost money. I haven't. I'm actually very, very, very positive for the year. But I'm really positive for the year because the way that I trade right now, I really believe that. You see, back when I first started trading 20 years ago, there was different phases that I realized I had to go through myself, and what's led me to where I am, to where I trade today. So when I first started trading 20 years ago, I had no idea about the markets. You know what I mean? I had no idea about what a stock was or anything like that. I actually, when I left school, I went to work with my dad as a landscape gardener. You know, so I was into plants and rockeries and all that sort of stuff. And when I first started trading, I had no idea the different phases I was going to go through to lead to where I am today. Now, the first phase I had to go through that I didn't realize, now 20 years later, I can look back over the last 20 years of trading career and I can really sort of think about what my trading's been and, you know, and stuff like that. And when I first started trading, I didn't realize I had to go through these different phases to where I am today. So my first phase was what's called the discovery phase. And this is where probably a lot of you guys are right now. The discovery phase is more like, you just don't know what you don't know, you know what I mean? So you want to learn everything you can about this thing called trading and financial markets and all that sort of stuff. And so one of the things that I didn't realize I had to go through and that I was doing, but I was learning a lot about everything, right? Like what is not only about the different charts, like the charts and the chart patterns, understanding, like trend lines and different chart patterns and, support resistance and indicators, stochastics, MACDs, RSI, all that sort of stuff. And like I started learning all that sort of stuff, like when it comes down to learning about the markets and stuff like that. So I started learning all about that sort of stuff, and I started learning about options as well too. And then especially with options, right? You can go down a massive rabbit hole with the options. And when I first started trading, that was my first introductions to trading. Really, it was options, and I'm so grateful that my mentor really taught me some basic options processes. And not go down the rabbit hole. I'm pretty sure you guys who trade options, you guys know what I'm talking about, right? You can do strangles and straddles and butterflies and Christmas trees. It's like, and covered calls and all that sort of stuff. There's a lot of ways you can actually utilize options, right? But anyway, so when I first started trading, I was going down this path of discovery, right? And you're like, then the futures markets, and what's the futures markets, and what's that all about? And then the 1 minute chart trading and 5 minute chart trading, and intraday trading. Then you go down this path of learning all this stuff, learning all these different things about the markets. And that's where a lot of you guys are right now. You guys are what's called the discovery phase. You're discovering about these markets. Now, after this phase, and generally not doing really well, it's like it's just struggling. After this type of phase, you start to get to the turn back moments. There's a lot of turn back moments where you guys may be there. That turn back moment is maybe trading's not for me. Maybe maybe this is just not for me. It's just, I can see it in the markets. I can see there's money to be made in the markets, but I'm just not getting it. I'm just not understanding it. And that was a turn back moment for me. and this is many years later. And that sort of big turn back moment for me was I found myself $250,000 in debt. I had to move in with my mother and father-in-law, and is that my hair? Look at my hair. Anyway, I had to move in with my mother and father-in-law, and I had to try to pick myself back up in, and that was and I've been trading for many years at that time. Long story about how I actually got into $250,000 debt, but either way, I still was that, and had to go to court over it, and getting sued and all that sort of stuff. And one of the things that was a turn back moment for me. I'm like, I just didn't get it, right? Like, I didn't understand. I'm like, hang on a minute, what's going on here? Like, I've been trading for all this time. I've been trading for many years, and I just don't have anything to show for it. And that was hard for me at that time because, I think about 6 or 12 months prior to that process there, my mother and father-in-law, I married their daughter, right? And so that was tough for me. And I did, because at the time I didn't know. I didn't know what I was doing wrong. Why am I not getting ahead? And then through a series of events, talking to my broker and stuff like that, I started getting access to some really successful traders, right? And it wasn't just educational, right? It wasn't just educational processes, but or process. It was actually getting coaching, right? Actually getting mentoring, figuring out what am I doing wrong and what am I doing right. I realized everything. I learned a lot about the markets, right? But I realized that I was doing something wrong. You know what I mean? I realized I was doing something wrong. And it was one of the worst times for me at that time was, I remember $250,000 in debt, had nothing to show for it, had to sell everything in the markets. And that process there, I remember sitting there thinking, I just really want this. I want this so bad. I really, really, really want this, And I remember borrowing $5,000 from my father-in-law. I said, can I borrow $5,000 so I can start trading again? And he said, okay, well, this is all you're going to get. If you lose this, then you're not going to get any more. I said, okay. And so what ended up happening was I lost 50% of that overnight. And that was, I remember I stayed up all night, because I stayed up all night trading the futures markets at that time. I learned a lot about the futures markets, and I was trading 1 minute charts, and I was trading the E-mini S&P 500 at that time. I was trading a lot of the European markets, which is called the Euro Stoxx 50, I think it was at the time. There's a lot of markets out there, right? And so I went through a process where, when that happened, I remember very, very, very clearly that I actually went to bed crying, because I'm just like, I really want this so bad. I want this so bad. I really want this. What am I doing wrong? And there was obviously a lot of things I was doing wrong at that time, and I didn't realize at that time. Now looking back, I realized that there's a lot of things I was doing wrong there. So then that's when I started to say, you know what, I need to, again, at this time, questioning, should I be doing this? I had my mother and father-in-law, especially my father-in-law, saying, yeah, this is probably not for you, right? What you're doing right now. It's probably not for you. And so at that time and at that process, I realized that I just had to get some proper mentoring and proper coaching and proper guidance. It was no longer about education, right? I've been through the discovery phase. I've been through the phase where I was just like, this is just not working for me. I mean, I went through the phase of learning a lot, but nothing was clicking for me. I didn't understand. I didn't understand the process. And this is when I I didn't realize at the time, it took me a while for it to click, but I started getting access to, I went and invested in some private coaching with a mentor, 7-figure mentor, and I invested with him and got some sort of coaching with him. And he really started showing me the path of what does it really take to get ahead in the markets? Because obviously I'm doing something wrong right now, right? So obviously I'm doing something wrong, and yeah, I need to figure out what am I doing wrong here. And I was doing so much wrong in the markets. And one of the biggest things that changed the way I thought about my trading was this. I always had this mentality of I want a lot of trades, right? I want a lot of trades, and I'm here to make a regular income. Both of those ideas or mindsets were things. One of the reasons why I never succeeded initially in the markets. Why? Well, to make a regular income from the markets, we automatically think job. I'm going to work this week, and at the end of this week, I'm going to have $1,000. I'm going to make $1,000 this week, and I'm going to do this every single week, and I'm going to make $1,000. What? So that income thought in my mind got me to overtrade, always looking for trades. That was the first thing, right? Now, the second thing was, when it comes down to that, that process there was I really started to understand that I didn't need a lot of trades throughout the entire year. If I wanted to make 6 figures this year, and this is my mentor gave me this template here, and he said, so John, on a really good move, how much could you make, say, utilizing options? Or a really good move, say, trading even the futures markets, and like on the margin there. And I said, 80%. I said a good trade over a week would be 100% return. And he goes, okay, cool, right? He said, do you know that you're only 7 doubles away from 6 figures? I'm like, what do you mean? He said, even if you're starting with a small trading account, he said, if you're starting with, say, say $1,000 trade, 1 in the 2, 2 in the 4, 4 in the 8, 8 in the 16, 16 in the 32, 32 in the 64, 64 in the 120. So he said, one of the biggest things that's stopping you from doing 6 figures this year is wanting to trade a lot every single day. He said, you're only 7 really good trades away from 6 figures. And then he said, if you look at $1 million, you're only 10 really good trades away from $1 million. And I went, that actually makes sense. Like, it actually makes sense. Me, I was trying to take 7 trades a night. You know what I mean? Not 7 trades a year. Now, when I started to learn this template of that, I started to realize that my wanting to make that regular short income stopped me from even doing 6 figures a year. Let alone multiple 6 figures, and then eventually 7. And I started thinking like, I see that. I understand it. He said, John, and he said to me, John, I do really well from trading. But he said, even though I trade so he trades the shorter time frame charts, the 2-minute charts, all that sort of stuff. He goes, a lot of the times there's actually no trades for me. He said throughout, say, a 20 day, he said out of that, I might have 3 or 4 days that are actually trading days, maybe 4. And the purpose of what he was saying to me was, he said, John, one of the things that's actually stopping you from getting ahead in the markets is you're thinking that you actually need a lot of trades. And this is one of the things that people who join my coaching stuff that I do, they automatically say, so how many trades are there? And they're thinking, I need a lot of trades. But it's not true. Once again, you're only 10 really good trades. You're only 10 doubles away, which means 10 trades that do 100% return. You're only that away from 10 doubles away from making $1 million. And he said, but what you're doing now, John, is one, you're over trading, you're trading a lot. And secondly, you're not looking for the double trades. You're looking for the small profit, the small profit, the small profit. He said the small profit's killing you from the big profit. And so I started to realize that more and more and more that's what was going on. And now, then I had to say, okay, then if that's actually facts, that's true. What are the setups that if I saw it come around, it's going to give me the best chances of doing a double? Now, I say a double because that's what it was, right? That's the template. But there's been many trades that's done, more than a double, right? For you guys who have been following me now for this year, Groupon did 300% return. Platinum did 250% return. So they did a lot more than a double. And then I started to realize, and then that's when my work began with him, right? He started to say, okay, and then these are the setups that you look for that's likely to do a double. Now, I don't look for the doubles. I look for the trades that's likely to make a big move over the course of not just over a week, but over the course of 3 weeks, 4 weeks, sometimes a couple months, that I can pick not a double up, but I can pick 500% return on the options that I do. And so then I realized that in order for me to make these big profits, I need to be in the market a little bit longer than just 2 minutes or 5 minutes or 20 minutes or half an hour trading the smaller time frames. And that's when I started to switch my main focus now, or I have done now for a long time. What really switched it all for me was this. It was a stepping stone, right? It was the discovery phase and almost quitting, the turn back moment. And then going through the process of understanding that my thinking was I'm trying to make a regular income, and that's not the truth, because the way that trading works throughout the entire year is that some months are going to have some good trades and other months it's going to be very quiet. It's not going to be any trades. And then I started understanding this process more and more and more about that. Things started to click for me, right? I started to be okay with not taking a trade for a week or two, or sometimes a month with no trades. That's okay, because I only need 7 good trades this year to make the 6 figures. I only need 10 good trades. So if I had a goal to become a millionaire again, it's like, it's only going to take me 10 really good trades. Now, the reality is not every trade's going to be double. And yes, I do have some losses as well too, right? But what if I said you're only 20 good trades away from doing that? You know what I'm trying to say? Like, you're actually not that far away from it. But it's just understanding the processes, understanding, and then that's when when I started saying, okay, well, what are the setups that I need to wait for throughout the entire year that's likely to do that? That's likely to give me the double. Now, I say a double. The idea is actually, personally for me, I'm looking for all those setups, and I do. It's the same thing. It's the same setup. That's likely to have a big move now over the course of a month. I used to trade a lot, looking at 1 minute charts, 2 minute charts. But here's the ironic thing that's actually happened with my own personal trading. I used to spend 6-8 hours a day sometimes looking at the shorter time frame charts, trying to find a lot of trades, right? Now what I do is I like to trade the daily charts, and I like to, and again, this is where everything really changed for me, right? Woo! Right? This is where everything really changed for me with my personal trading, is I switched to the daily chart trading only half an hour, maybe an hour per day. But the reason why I'm doing that is because I'm looking for those opportunities today where I can get in and be in it for a month and have that 200%, 300%. You see what I'm saying? So I cut my trading time down from like 8 hours a day to like 1 hour per day. Then I developed scans to help me find these trades for me, and then I developed the systems and the processes and all that sort of stuff. So like, I understand that's the template, 7 trades and 10 trades. And again, it's not always the same, right? Like, it's not like, I understand it's not going to take, now when I say 7 trades to 6 figures, starting with $1,000, that means, you're going to have, say, a $10,000 trading account, right? And your first trade's going to be $1,000 trade, $1,000 investment, right? That's what I mean by that. But I'm pretty sure most of you guys know what I mean here. But once I started to understand this, I realized, if I eventually want to become a millionaire in these markets, And that's my goal over the next couple of years. What do I need to do today? What do I need to do tomorrow? Oh, I need to understand this process. I need to understand that I'm not looking for a lot of trades this year. I'm looking to find a handful of trades so I can make a big move. You know, and then understanding that. So that's when everything started to switch for me. And now my profits have gone up so much, but I trade such little time now. And that's given me back my freedom, my time, my freedom, you know, and time to think and time to do some other stuff that I really want to do as well too outside the markets. Because you see what I'm saying here, right? Instead of me looking for a 1 minute trade that might give me a short-term move over a few minutes, I'm now scanning the market. I'm showing up every day, looking at the market for half an hour, scanning the market, creating watch lists, keeping an eye on things, managing trades as well too. And now because I only trade 1 hour per day, what's ended up happening is that my profits at the end of the year, my profits are so much greater now than they were trading 1 hour per day, or 8 hours per day. Because I'm looking, instead of me trying to make $1,000 a week, $1,000 a week, $1,000 a week, $1,000 a week, by doing some strategies, I could do a $20,000 trade and over the course of a month make 80 or 100 grand, 60, 80, 100 grand on a trade. Do you see what I'm saying, like, with that? And all I had to do is look at the market for an hour per day, find the setup, find the trade, put the trade on, and then manage it properly, right? And then that's when everything started to change for me. I'm like, oh. And then that's what really, even for this year, I know there's a lot of traders who are short-term traders. They're really having a hard time in the market these days. Really having a hard time in the market, especially this year, right, with the volatility. So my whole coaching program, and if you're interested in that, if you go to getjohnshelp.com, that's an application where you can join my 1% group. And this is the way we trade. If this resonates with you guys, then apply for my 1% group. And that's where you're actually with me every day for an hour or so, where we do the whole process, right? We're looking for the trades and managing the trades and so on and so forth, right? Because then firstly, it's the right mindset going into it, what I talked about today. The second thing for you guys is understanding what exactly am I looking for that's likely to make that big move. And then thirdly, how do I manage it properly so I can hold on to it and let the profits run and cut my losses short. And again, that's the reason why I run what's called the 1% group. Again, if you're interested, go to getjohns, Johns, getjohnshelp.com. It's an application form. You'll personally be speaking with me, and we'll have a good chat and see if I can help you out. But the purpose of this whole video for you today is to show you this is when everything completely changed for me. Like, it blew me away. Like, wow, I'm actually trading less now than I ever have. Meaning I only trade an hour, sometimes a couple hours per day, meaning like I'll spend all this time and I'll go through the process of looking at the markets. But I don't need to do any more, right? Because if I'm in a trade and my goal is to be in it for say a couple of weeks to a month, then for me personally, there's actually nothing for me to do. You know what I mean? Like, once I found the trade, I'm in the trade. It takes me 5 minutes to check the trade out and say, okay, I don't need to do anything anymore. Like, I don't need to do it. The trade's still going. And this is where, like, once I started to realize this, and I started to get a bit more money behind me, and the very first time this happened to me, the very first time this completely changed the way that I saw things is, I remember doing a $20,000 trade. And then 6 weeks later, that $20,000 trade made me over $100,000 in 6 weeks. And through that entire time, I just looked at the market half an hour a day, one, to check the trade that I was in, and then secondly, to scan for new opportunities, create watch lists, see what might be coming up. And this is why, oh my goodness! And I remember everything that was a complete game changer for me, because instead of me trying to make $1,000 a week here and there and maybe trying to make 50 or 60 or 70 grand, I think I was making 60 or so thousand dollars at that time at a job. And, you know, so I was trying to replace my income, right? But then I realized, instead of me trying to replace my income, I'm looking for pockets of opportunities throughout the entire year, that if I can do that, I can do a lot more at the end of the year. Instead of me making 70 grand this year, I could do 2, 3, 4, 500 grand this year. You know what I'm saying? And it was the first time I did that many years ago. I'm like, oh, I'm understanding this now. If I can have a couple more trades like this year, I'm not gonna make 70 grand this year. I'm gonna make 300 grand this year. I'm gonna make 400 grand this year. And that's when everything completely switched for me. Does that make sense, guys? I hope this makes sense. So if hopefully some of the stuff that I've talked about today, again, I have a whole, if this resonates with you guys and you do want some help, and you can see from my background to where I started, and you want to get some bit of shortcuts process behind this, and you resonate with this type of trading, then again, go to getjohntop.com, fill out the application form, and we'll speak if I see if you're a good fit for what's called my 1% group. They're called the 1% group because, you know, we achieve in that group what only 1% of traders only achieve in the markets there. So anyway, traders, I hope this sort of really helps you out. And my whole role through this video was to try to walk you through some of my backstory and some of my story in my life, to maybe somewhere where you are. Maybe you're in the discovery phase, maybe you're just trying to learn, maybe you are thinking I need a lot of trades. And so hopefully there's a lot of things I've said in this video, guys, that's helped you out. I'll speak to you soon.